The shrill whistle of the train cut through the silence of Eastbridge Station like a knife. A gust of wind stirred the dust, carrying with it the faint scent of oil and metal. Maya stood on the platform, a duffel bag slung over her shoulder and her sketchbook pressed tightly against her chest, as if the pages inside could shield her from what lay ahead. She hadn't been back in 13 years. The station looked the same, and yet entirely different. The same peeling paint, the same wooden benches, the same graffiti scrawled on the ticket booth. Time doesn't wait, but it leaves traces. But something in the air had shifted. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was expectant, like the town itself was holding its breath. She wasn't just here to revisit memories. She was here because her grandmother had vanished. Gone without a word, without a note. One day tending her garden, the next, disappeared. All that was left behind was a half-packed suitcase and an old train schedule circled in red. It led to a station that didn't exist anymore. The station master, an old man with clouded eyes and too many keys hanging from his belt, watched Maya as she bought her ticket.
"You sure you want to take this line?"
he asked, voice gravelly.
"It's the only way,"
she replied, trying to sound braver than she felt. He narrowed his eyes, then slowly handed over the ticket.
"Mind the stops,"
he said.
"Not every place on this line lets you come back."
Just then lightning cracked across the sky, though the sun still shone. The train screeched into the station moments later, sleek, silver, and humming like it had a pulse of its own. Maya hesitated at the door. Her phone buzzed. No service. She stepped on board. Behind her, the old station clock stopped ticking. The train jerked forward with a metallic groan, and the world outside began to blur. Trees, fields, distant hills stitched together by the trembling glass. Inside, Maya clutched her sketchbook like an anchor. The sounds of the carriage a strange lullaby of creaks, murmurs, and the rhythmic clatter of wheels on the rails. The train wasn't full, but it felt crowded with silence. Across from her sat a woman in a crimson coat, her face veiled by a black netted hat. She didn't blink, didn't move, just stared at the reflection in the window. Her gloved fingers curled around a cracked locket. Every few minutes, she whispered something under her breath. Maya couldn't quite hear it, but the tone chilled her. Farther down the carriage, a man in a priest's collar clutched a weathered Bible so tightly his knuckles turned white. He glanced up every time they passed through a tunnel, eyes darting like prey sensing a predator. Once, he locked eyes with Maya and flinched, as if he recognized her. Then there was the boy. He sat alone at the far end, staring out the window with a small toy train circling his knees. Unlike the other passengers, he looked alert, almost too alert. His dark eyes flicked from shadow to shadow, following something no one else could see. When Maya offered a small smile, he didn't smile back, but slowly reached down and pushed his toy train toward her seat, letting it glide across the floor. It stopped at her feet. She picked it up. Scratched into the underside were initials. RK. Her father's initials. Her breath caught. The lights flickered. The carriage dimmed for just a second too long. Then the announcement crackled through the speakers, distorted and delayed like a voice speaking through water. The woman in the red coat whispered louder now. Maya caught the words this time.
"Not all passengers make it off."
Maya blinked. But when she looked again, the woman was gone. Only the cracked locket remained on the seat. The train screeched to an unexpected halt, metal grinding against metal in a scream that echoed through the trees outside. The lights flickered violently, and when they stabilized, the voice over the speakers came again, warped and whispering.
"Unscheduled stop. Disembark only if called."
Maya peered through the window. The platform was swallowed in mist, lit by a single flickering lamp. The signpost was barely visible beneath overgrown ivy and rust, but she caught the name just as the fog parted. Woolgrave Halt. A station that hadn't been on any map for decades. No one else moved. Then the boy stood up. He turned to Maya and simply said,
"Next stop, Blackridge. Mind the silence."
"We're meant to get off here."
Before she could ask how he knew, he stepped off the train, his toy clutched to his chest. Something inside Maya screamed to follow. Not curiosity but instinct, the kind that says this is it. She rose, ignoring the cold stares of the other passengers, and stepped into the mist. The air outside felt old, like stepping into a memory not your own. The platform was cracked and splintered, vines crawling over every surface. A lone cat slinked across the tracks, pausing to look at her with unnatural intelligence before vanishing into the brush. The boy walked ahead, silent but certain. They passed the edge of the platform and followed a trail of broken stones and lantern posts into the woods. Maya's heart pounded louder with every step. The trees twisted above them, their branches almost watching. Then through the trees they found it. An abandoned train car, half consumed by nature, sat in a clearing as though it had crashed through time itself. Vines wrapped around its wheels, moss covering the roof like a burial shroud. But the doors were wide open. And on the rusted side, barely legible, were the words. Raj Line. Final passage. Her father's name. Inside the carriage the air felt electric. Cold. Sacred. Dust particles floated like tiny stars in the dim light pouring through broken windows. There were sketches pinned to the walls. Her sketches. Ones she'd drawn as a child. Pages she had torn out and forgotten. And beside them, old train schedules with red circles. The same red her grandmother had used. The boy touched one paper gently.
This is where they go.
He said softly.
The ones who remember too much, or too little.
Maya turned to ask what he meant. But he was gone. Only his toy train remained on the seat beside her. Maya's fingers trembled as she picked up the toy train. It was warm. Too warm, like it had a heartbeat of its own. Outside the abandoned carriage, the forest had gone silent. No wind. No birds. Even her own breath seemed to disappear into the stillness. She stepped deeper into the train car, and the world around her shifted. The moss-covered floor transformed beneath her feet into polished wood. The walls, once rotting and graffiti-covered, now gleamed with brass fixtures and velvet seats. The train was no longer abandoned. It was alive, running. And she wasn't alone. The seats filled slowly, shadows taking shape. A woman with stormy eyes, embroidered lace with fingers too fast for human hands. A man in a war uniform stared at an empty photograph frame. A teenage girl with a cracked mirror whispered her name over and over, trying to recognize her own face. They were all passengers, caught in some strange in-between, some memory loop. And then, at the very end of the car, she saw him. Her father. He sat in full conductor's uniform, cap tilted, a soft smile on his face. But he looked younger than she remembered, closer to her age now than when he vanished. Maya rushed toward him.
Dad?
He looked up surprised but not startled, as if he had been expecting her.
You found the line.
He said softly. Her voice cracked.
You left. You just disappeared. Why? Why didn't you come back?
He sighed, standing slowly.
This line, it doesn't work like the others. You don't ride it with your body. You ride it with memory, regret, love.
He touched her sketchbook, now glowing faintly at her side.
I've been trying to reach you, Maya. You have a gift. Like me. Like your grandmother. That's why she vanished too.
Maya backed away.
No. This is a dream. This isn't real.
He stepped forward.
It's real, but it's not meant to keep you. Only show you what you need to remember.
Suddenly, the lights flickered again, and her father's image glitched like static on a broken screen. The train lurched. A deep rumble echoed from beyond the windows. The shadows around her began to weep, whisper, and some started shouting, desperate to be seen. Her father looked into her eyes, urgent now.
You have to finish the journey. But not for me. For yourself. The last stop. That's where truth lives.
Where is it?
You'll know it when your heart says go back, and your fear says run.
Before she could speak again, the walls splintered, the illusion shattered, and the ghost train collapsed back into ruin. She was alone once more. In the decaying carriage, only the toy train and her sketchbook glowing faintly in the dark. The forest was no longer quiet. A wind had risen, wild, whispering, wailing. Trees creaked like old bones, and the abandoned train car groaned as if mourning the end of a long-kept secret. Maya stepped out, clutching her sketchbook. The pages were no longer blank or unfinished. They were filled with drawings she didn't remember making. Her father as a young conductor, her grandmother tending to a garden by an unseen station, the boy with the toy train watching her from shadowed corners of the line. The symbols, places, faces, and one final image. A train pulling into a station of light, where time stood still. She followed the trail of lanterns, now blazing with golden fire, deeper into the woods. As she reached a clearing, the air shimmered. A platform appeared where there had been nothing but leaves, glowing with ethereal light. And then came the sound, the deep melodic chime of a bell, not one of warning but of welcome. The last train had arrived. It was unlike any train she'd seen, gleaming like moonlight made of memory and metal. Its windows shimmered with scenes from the past and possibilities from the future. The door slid open soundlessly. Inside stood the boy. But he wasn't a boy anymore. He looked like her father did in old photos, familiar and calm.
You brought your truth.
He said.
That's the ticket.
Maya hesitated.
What happens if I get on?
You'll understand. Not everything. But enough.
She stepped inside. The train glided soundlessly, not over tracks, but through moments, memories unfolding like pages. She saw her grandmother sitting with a young Maya on her lap, whispering stories of a hidden railway. She saw her father letting go of her hand at the edge of the platform, not out of abandonment, but out of duty. Then she saw herself. She could be. The train slowed.
Your stop.
The boy said. When she stepped off, she was back in Eastbridge. But it was dawn, not dusk. The station was alive with color, like a painting she'd always meant to finish. Her phone buzzed. New message from Grandma. Her knees nearly gave out. She opened her sketchbook one last time. The final page held a drawing she never made. Herself standing at the platform, smiling. Free. The line was gone. But its echo remained. In her heart, in her art, in the gentle hum of truth she would carry forever.